So it only took me about an hour and a half, but I did get the 3 bolts in the motor mount, which is that red thing, orange thing down there between the intake manifold, exhaust manifold. Now the exhaust manifold isn't bolted up yet. It's going to go right here, and this is it right here. But I still got to do the other side. I've still only got 2 bolts in the back of the motor, and they're both in the bottom. So I was climbing up there trying to reach over there and start the bolt on top. That's always a challenge. I decided to quit for now because I've got to go run an errand. Plus this motor mount isn't in yet, so I've got to do that one. So like I say, I got to go run an errand, go to the parts store, pick up a few things. I'll be back, and then I'll do more, and then I'll show you more. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'd be awful lonely here without you. I love every one of you, and so does Jesus. So I'll just keep that in mind. If things gets hard, that Jesus is still looking out for you. Okay. Okay, so progress is being made. Robert asked me about his car this morning. He said, now that you got the engine in there, what are you going to do next? And I said, you seem to think that just because the engine is sitting in there that the engine's in there. And I told them I just spent 2 hours putting 3 bolts in the engine mount. Is that the right word for that? And then I just spent another series of hours putting the bolts back there. Now I've got all the bolts in that bolts the engine to the transmission except the one down in here, and I have to get that one from under the car, and I have to jack the car up to do that. And I still haven't gotten my motor mount over there yet. So that's what I'm going to do next is work the motor mount in here. It should be easier because I don't have a water pump. On the other side there was a water pump that blocked me from getting my hand down in there, so that should make it considerably easier. I'm going to park y'all over here while I work on that. Let's see, after I get the motor mounts in, I can attach the exhaust manifolds, and maybe at that point I'll be ready to jack it up and get under it and attach the torque converter and put those bolts in that go. We'll tighten up the bolts on the back of the motor and put the one in that I can't reach from anywhere else up here. I'll turn y'all off for now though. It's a beautiful sunshiny day. The back's only a little bit sore from laying over the hood. Ooh, look at that sunshine. I'm liking that. Yes indeed. So most people probably don't have this much difficulty getting an engine in their vehicle. I have a lot of difficulty, and it has to do with the way this car is made. This is something like a shock tower, but this doesn't have a regular front suspension. These things, Rambler had a special name for these. Trunnions, I think they called them. But this is basically like a shock tower, like you'd have on a Mustang 2 or something like that. And so I don't have room for headers. I use these stock manifolds because they're the narrowest thing I can fit in here that'll still give me some flow. The motor mounts were sitting on top of those, and I got this one bolted on there. On the other side I could only get one bolt in it, and I kept having a hard time trying to get it up in the air and reach up there. And I thought, well, maybe if I hook up the manifolds, it'll give me some ability to work around down there. And of course then I couldn't get the manifolds to come past the motor mounts to get up here high enough to put the bolts in. So I spent some time joggling the motor around and prize barring it this way and that. I've got the manifolds up here, so I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of bolts in both of these manifolds, and then try lifting the engine again to see if I can get up under there. I've got one bolt in the front of the motor mount, and there's 3 bolts that go into it. I had a pretty good lineup on the bottom hole, but I just couldn't quite get it to work. But maybe what was happening though is, these exhaust manifolds were mashing on the motor mounts and I didn't have anything to wiggle. I couldn't wiggle them around or do anything much with them. So anyway, I just thought I'd let you know where I'm at. I mentioned that, you know, you can spend all day getting 1 or 2 or 3 bolts in. Well, I've spent, I don't know what time it is now, but it's feeling like I've been under there for a very long time trying to get that one in. So like I said, I'm going to put the exhaust manifolds and put a couple of exhaust manifold bolts in place, and then we'll take another look. Oh, the joy. Now these are pretty cool. These were advertised as a reusable exhaust manifold gasket. They're pretty cool looking. I've got some others up here that came with this set of headers that are a little bit similar right here. And I like these better than some of the exhaust manifold gaskets come in 3 pieces and you just have to slip them down between the bolts. I like these better. Anyway, I'm going to put these on, put some bolts in there, and then we'll go back to working on that motor mount. 2 or 3 bolts and the manifolds on each side. I painted those with black engine paint, and putting something else on there usually don't hold up. I had silver on there last time, it rusted right through. But I think that looks good. I got 2 bolts in the motor mount, and it takes 3, but the third one is back there, and the way this thing is made, there's a metal piece of steel under there where you can't really get to that. So I think it might be good enough with 2 bolts on it. So I'm pretty pooped. I don't have my pins through the motor mounts, but that usually goes through pretty easy once it's sitting in the cradle. So I'm gonna quit for today. Go get cleaned up. I'll be back out here in the morning. We get that done, we'll go underneath it and hook up the torque converter, and I'll see what that what's leaking around in that transmission or on that transmission, and then we'll start hooking up gas lines and all kind of fun stuff. Might be able to take a ride tomorrow if we're lucky. I appreciate y'all, by the way. Hope you're having a nice day, and if you ain't, just get over it. Okay? See you, bye.